don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your hosts, me, Amber, my bestie, Sydney. We are co-owners of Shield Maiden Training Co., and this is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to women and the LGBTQIA+ community.
That is true.
It is.
And we added a new identifier in our
If you listen
intro.
closely,
Yeah.
don't skip through this intro.
Then you'll hear a new identifier in there. Good job.
Wellness for those who care or listen closely.
You can't tell them they have to go back and listen. And okay, fine.
We added wellness because we realized that we're not just talking about fitness.
Yeah.
It is holistic wellness and well-being and fitness.
Crunchy granola.
Yes.
Crunchy
I
granola.
am from Vermont.
That's true. All right, Amber, what are we titling this episode?
Yeah, that's no good.
So, yeah, that's what we're going to call this episode. Yeah, that's no good. We're going to be chatting about some health disparities as it pertains to women of color and maternity. Since if you listen to July, we talked a lot about pregnancy and children and all of that madness.
Child rearing?
Rearing.
Rearing?
It just felt very old school to say rearing. So it's like, I don't know where to pivot to this. So one of the reasons that I thought this topic it slots in very well, but also there's been a couple of new articles that came out recently that were based on a study, a longstanding study that they published the findings on. So it was on NPR, The Atlantic, those kinds of things. And what we as women know has been happening, they now have data to support.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah. So there's a significant public health issue, and it focuses around maternal disparities, with women of color often experiencing poorer outcomes compared to their white counterparts, which
surprise.
The disparities are multifaceted and result from a combination of social, economic, and healthcare systematic factors. And the U.S. maternal mortality rates have doubled over the last 20 years. Yeah.
Jeez.
So mortality rates remain unacceptably high among all racial and ethnic groups across the U.S.
You don't say.
Yeah. And the worst outcomes are among Black women, Native American, and Alaskan Native people.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's bananas.
This is like a combination episode where we take what we talked about last month and then talk about the very scary but real side.
Yeah.
And again, the things that women have known have been going on, but now there's data to support.
Oh gosh, they finally decided to study women and not just men.
Yeah, in some cases.
Shocking. So a new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association collected data from 1999 to 2019 that shows that maternal death rates in the U.S. are getting worse. I know, shocking, right? How could they get worse? And they are consistently highest among Black women. While the rates for Black women have more than doubled, they have tripled for Native American and Native Alaskan women.
It's not good.
It's not good. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's why that's the theme of this episode.
Exactly. One of the things that I found fascinating is places like New York and New Jersey saw an increase in deaths among Black and Latina mothers, which are places we typically consider having better access to health services. They have they have more services available. They also have higher populations, and they are pretty consistently known for having county hospitals and things like that, where even if you don't have insurance, you get treatment and those kinds of things. So it's kind of interesting that places that we would consider having access to healthcare are still facing this issue.
No good.
Yeah. Places like Wyoming and Montana saw more Asian mothers die. While maternal mortality is lower for white women, it's also increasing in some parts of the country. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the maternal mortality rate for Black women is around 37.1 deaths per 100,000 live births.
What?
Yeah. So compared to 14.7 deaths per 100,000 live births for white women.
Yikes.
Yeah. The majority of deaths are in the immediate postpartum period. So that is from, which is considered to be like up to 1 year after the child's birth.
So it's the post-birth complications.
Yeah.
That they're not paying attention to.
Yeah. So there's a couple of factors that play into that is that a lot of folks don't get any services until their third trimester. So all of that early kind of preventative things and testing, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the leading factors, which its onset happens around the 20-week mark. So it's missed early on.
Right.
So that has a lot to do with it. Among the wealthiest nations, the U.S. has the highest maternal mortality rate. We lead the charge.
We're number one.
We're number one.
So addressing maternal health disparities requires a comprehensive approach that addresses systemic racism, improves healthcare access, and provides culturally competent care for all women, regardless of their racial or ethnic background.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
It's, again, I think we said this back in July, where it is a simple thing to identify what the causes are. It is a difficult thing to address all of them because of that multi-system.
Right.
So research has documented that social and economic factors, racism, and chronic stress contribute to poor maternal and infant health outcomes, including higher rates of prenatal depression and preterm birth among African American women, and higher rates of mortality among Black infants. In recent years, research and news reports have raised attention to the effects of provider discrimination during pregnancy and delivery. News reporting and maternal mortality case reviews have called attention to a number of deaths and near misses among women of color where providers did not or were slow to listen to their patients. I think we chatted about this of one of the Williams sisters. It's that kind of like the mother is trying to tell you, I've had complicated, these are the things, and they're not listening, or they're slow to respond and react to what their patient is telling them. In one study, Indigenous, Hispanic, and Black women reported significantly higher rates of mistreatment, such as shouting and scolding. Could you imagine being scolded by your doctor?
Right? Like as you're trying to give birth or like deal with postpartum complications.
Yeah. Or ignoring or refusing requests for help. Just like flat out just not doing what you're supposed to do.
Like, isn't that your whole job?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways.
So in the study, they also found that they would control for insurance status, income, age, and severity of conditions. People of color are less likely to receive routine medical procedures and experience a lower quality of care.
That's no good.
Yeah. Another recent study of hospital births in Florida found there were significant improvements in mortality for Black mothers who were cared for by Black physicians.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Pointing to the importance of culturally concordant or competent care. So really, I think we kind of knew that. Like, that's why women choose women doctors. It's why, like you have a connection with somebody because they understand your experience.
Yeah.
And so having a Black doctor serve a Black mother makes a whole lot of sense.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I'm not going to just completely disregard you.
Right.
And especially we know for a fact that there are issues and complications that arise for Black mothers. And so just ignore. I can't imagine being ignored.
Right.
Of like, I'm telling you this, and you're just completely writing me off.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So the undefeated, I love this. The undefeated survey found that most Black adults believe that healthcare system treats people unfairly based on their race, and 1 in 5 Black and Hispanic adults report that they were personally treated unfairly because of their race or ethnicity while getting healthcare in the past year.
Yikes.
With a higher share of Black mothers reporting unfair treatment,
Mm-hmm.
we can, yep. Black
That
adults
tracks.
were also more likely than white adults to report feeling a provider didn't believe them when they were telling the truth and being refused a test, treatment, or pain medication they thought they needed.
Yikes.
So that whole history of like pain seeking medication, like there's just all of this web intertwined.
So, US born Black women are more likely to develop preeclampsia, which is a serious blood pressure condition that usually develops after 20 weeks in pregnancy.
So this is what
So
I was
that's-
talking.
yeah.
Yeah, this is where this is probably one of the higher causes of complications during a pregnancy for Black women.
Mhm.
And again, it develops at 20 weeks. So like
So
that
they're not.
that early stage, first trimester, second trimester are really important, especially in catching this, because once you're in your third trimester, we're getting to a very serious spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So data gathered over 28 years as part of this Boston birth cohort, which was originally designed to investigate genetic and environmental factors associated with premature births, led to new analysis by researchers at Johns Hopkins that specifically examine differences in hypertension and other cardiovascular disease risk factors and the prevalence of preeclampsia among Hispanic, Black, and white women.
Yeah. So the study wasn't designed for what the researchers ultimately were able to extract from it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was designed for this one thing, but it led to another like whole thing of like, oh wait, there's more information in here that we inadvertently gathered.
Because we didn't bother looking at diseases in women because they must be the same as men. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so these results showed that all 3 groups of women who gave birth and were born in the US had a higher cardiovascular disease risk profile than foreign born counterparts after accounting for differences in weight, smoking, alcohol use, stress, diabetes, all the other factors.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of
We're number 1.
number 1.
Yay. So the study didn't specifically look at the impact of structural racism on health in this study, but it may play a role. It probably does.
It probably does.
It plays a role in everything. Black women who were born outside the US, immigrated to the country recently, may be somewhat protected from the effects of discrimination because they tend to settle in immigrant concentrated residential areas with increased social support.
Yes. So I just thought I think it's kind of fascinating of like, if you were born in the US, these factors are going to be higher for you. Even if you were not a Black woman, right? Like even white women, it showed higher prevalence.
Right.
But if you were born outside the US and happen to be a Black woman, but you immigrate here, you might be kind of in a bubble for a little while.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, but also kind of not cool.
Because like, why can't we all be in the bubble?
Yeah, I want to be in the bubble. But it's kind of fascinating of like how this web has been woven to just really not be set up well for one, moms.
Yeah.
In general, and then women of color, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no good.
It's no good. That's the theme of this episode. So all of this is to say, this is not a happy-go-lucky, normal kind of like episode for us, I would say. We recognize that this paints a very dark picture for a lot of mothers and the outcomes of their pregnancy.
Yes, but
we also know that it's important that this is the reality for many women and many women of color. And as we continue to advocate and bring awareness to these topics, we want to sit with these uncomfortable yet very real outcomes and make sure that we understand and feel a little more, I guess, educated of like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that probably don't cross our minds very often, but impact your very real daily lives.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to sit inside a bubble
Yes.
and be protected and be very insular and be like, okay, well, I don't know anybody who's had preeclampsia, or I don't, I don't know anyone who's lost a baby, and I don't know anyone who's died from childbirth.
Right.
But
I know several people who have come close.
Exactly. And
like,
but for a lot of people, that is a reality.
It is. And as white women who don't plan on carrying children, like, this is not something that we're going to experience. But we know a lot of people who listen to us are women who may plan to carry children, who already have carried children.
Yeah.
So it's a very real topic, and can't always be sunshine and rainbows, because we do want to be realistic and talk about these hard topics.
Yeah. The things that are actually happening in the world.
Yeah. It's all on fire.
Literally.
It's literally all on fire.
That's our kind of a downer episode, but very relevant for a lot of people episode.
Yeah. The more you know.
The more you know. The more you want to crawl under a rock.
Or live in another country. USA is number one in all the bad things. So that's a wrap. we're just gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, we're just gonna wrap it up.
Don't forget to submit your requests, your topic requests for October to @ShieldMe. Goodness, I'm so tired.
What Amber's trying to say is, in October, we're taking your requested topics and researching them and talking about them. And you can submit those at ShieldMaidenTC on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That is what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you want to hear about. Try to get those in by September 15th, so we have time to research and get ready for them.
Yeah. And if you would like to be a guest on your suggested topic, also let us know that.
Yeah, we love guests.
We do love guests. Cool. Great. So that's a wrap.